I'm here with Ranaldo, Sonic Youth. We're just making some tone prints for TC Electronics' new delay pedal, and we're going to ask Lee a couple questions. Who inspired you over the years when you were creating your own guitar tone?
A lot of different people. A lot of different people from, early loves would definitely be the Beatles and Keith Richards and people like that. A lot of acoustic guitar players from the 60s like Joni Mitchell and Neil Young and Steve Stills, people like that, David Crosby. Electric guitar players, I would definitely have to put Jerry Garcia in there, and people from New York City like Tom Verlaine in particular would be a real inspirational player, I would say, to me, especially if we're talking about tone. I think he's one of these guys that, every once in a while you just hear somebody whose guitar just has the most amazing tone. And Tom Verlaine is a player like that. This guy named Mark Ribot, who plays with a lot of different people, he's a player like that too. He's an amazing player, but he also is a guy that just gets incredible tone out of his guitar. Lots of different people. Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. for certain kind of tone, certain kind of gnarly tone. Thurston I'd put in there. I'd put Thurston and Kim in there, actually, probably, from Sonic Youth. Lots of different people. Electric players, acoustic players, John Fahey, Leo Kottke on the acoustic side, people like that have been definitely very inspirational.
What are the main ingredients in your tone in terms of effects, like a chorus flanger or delay?
Well, we're working with the flashback delay pedal, and I would say delay pedal is probably the single main ingredient in what I use. I mean, I use overdrives and distortion boxes and things like that, but if I had to pick one pedal that I couldn't live without, it would be delay pedals. A couple particular ones that I use a lot. I don't know if they want to talk about other brands' delay pedals and stuff like that, or just leave it at that.
You can mention, I know the Mooger Fooger was a...
Well, the Mooger Fooger, but mostly I use the Ibanez. I use the
80.
I use the Ibanez 88 or 8080 or 89, or there's a couple different ones, which is a short analog delay pedal, and I use this DOD 2-second delay. This thing kind of can do a lot of those same things that those pedals that I use regularly can use, but up until now, those are pretty much the pedals I've used. Delay pedal and certain kind of overdrive pedals are what I use. I use this one handmade in Sweden called the Honeybee. That's a little gold box, and that's one of my favorites for overdrive pedals. And I use an old Hughes and Kettner 2-switch drive and overdrive, and that's a really cool pedal.
Have you ever been inspired by a tone you created that you ended up writing a tune based on that specific tone?
I mean, that kind of thing happens all the time for us because we're playing in different tunings, and you start tuning your guitar. Like this tuning, is something I've been playing with for a little bit. It's a lot of C's and G's, a lot of unison notes, and we sit down and start listening to the tone, especially if you're playing with the feedback controls, and you start getting something happening on the controls, and just immediately start playing something that goes with it. So. I would say that kind of thing happens all the time since we're working a lot with guitar texture and sort of less traditional rhythmic structures. We're always writing songs around a sound. A certain guitar with a certain combination of effects has a sound, and you use it and write a song around it.
And there was a guitar that had one string that had to be remade for the one song.
One string.
Then it had 2 strings and a drumstick over the
side.
side.
It had 4 strings. It had bass strings. The drifter you're talking about. Yeah, the drifter. It had 4 bass strings and no frets. We took all the frets off it, and it had a big screw over.
That's what it was, the screw.
Yeah, and then we used it with a screwdriver as well. I mean, a drumstick. And that got stolen at some point, and one of our other techs remade that for us. Yeah, we've got a drifter too in the ranks now.
Do you work on developing your tone continuously, or do you feel that you have found a fundamental tone that will last throughout your career?
Well, I feel like it's a combination of the two, you know. Definitely I feel like I've found some tones that are kind of my voice, you know, what I like out of guitar pickups and what I like to hear out of an amp's kind of sound, the kind of tone it is something I've worked on a lot. But I tend to feel like I'm always still like looking for new and interesting tones. Like, you know, I've been playing the same kind of guitars for a long time, and so recently I've been picking up some different instruments made by different companies and finding that I'm getting other kinds of tones out of them that I haven't played around with too much before. So for me, it's definitely cool to both have something that I feel like is a home base tone-wise, and to be able to feel like, you know, I can still push it in different directions.
What inspired you when you created your tone print?
Well, I mean, again, you know, what inspired me basically was, you know, what kind of things I like to hear out of a delay pedal, and, you know, starting with a particular tuning and start by playing around today, starting with something like, you know, thinking about something like Fripp and Eno's No Pussyfooting or something like that. Started to develop like a couple chord progressions. And you know, this is a particular kind of sound. You can't play anything that's too rapid with a sound that's got that long and complicated a delay. But really get into some. Something out around that particular patch.
You've had access to a lot of tweakable parameters. Did any new ideas for future tones pop up in the process? Kind of answered that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we did.
Normally, do you
know, the idea, just to answer that a little bit, the idea of, you know, normally I don't think about combining a delay tone with choruses and vibratos, so we were playing around a little bit with that, with like adding in some chorusy stuff and some vibrato stuff, and there's definitely some cool things in there that could be worked on further.
And these effects only occur on the repeats of the delays, so
right.
What you're getting is a clean sound underneath it of the first sound, so you're not losing some of that articulation. It's kind of layered on top of it.
Yeah, I like that too. That you keep the clean sound right on the surface.
We've done this program where one of the knobs is programmed to sweep in the mix of the chorus, so you actually can control exactly how much of the wet chorus sound you want on the delayed sound. Why did you sign up for creating your own personal tone print? As a personal favorite to Lawrence.
As a personal favorite to Lawrence, and because, you know, it's an area of electric guitar sound that I'm interested in. So, you know, the idea of playing around with it in a particular way. You know, mostly what I use are very simple, basic pedals that kind of like I ask them to do one thing, and that's all I really want them to do. I mean, this pedal can do a lot of different things, and probably if I were to use this pedal, I'd probably find a few things that I like in it, and that's all I would use it for. But the fact that it's got all this different capability means different players can find the things that are good for them in it, you know.
So you like having a pedal. This is kind of the concept here, is having, although it's very programmable at its basic setup, it is knobs, a couple knobs, and an in and out, and a stomp switch. And it's not like you have a rack mount piece.
Yeah.
With a long MIDI controller and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I don't really go that route anyway. It's okay.
In your opinion, what is the single coolest thing about tone prints?
Well, I think the single coolest thing about it is the fact that as a player at home, you can download patches that different other players make, maybe some people that you admire or whose sound you like, and then, you know, as a starting point, you know, it's kind of like when you're a guitar player, you learn other people's songs, you learn their changes, but in this case, you'd be able to play around with some of their sound patterns, you know, some of the ways that they manipulate sound as a starting point for maybe something that you want to do. So, I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things about it, is the fact that it has this added aspect that you can grab stuff off the net and download it right into the pedal and work with it.
How does this tone print fit into your current sound and gear setup?
Well, you know, I'm writing songs for a solo record right now, so I'm looking for different sounds and different kinds of things to do. And like I was telling you, I have some friends of mine who were asking me to do some sort of collaborative work with them. So maybe something that we've done today will lead to something I can give to them and see if they can do something on top of it.
How did you go about creating the specific Thumbprint?
Well, we sat here together and just basically, basically the way I do most stuff. I went about it by ear, looking for what sounded good, and if it didn't sound good, we tried something else. And I was kind of asking for different things, and you were manning the computer and finding them. And we found a couple things we liked, and then we went down some roads we didn't like, and came back and went down some other roads until we found something we were really happy with.
And we started with the analog setting, which is, again, goes back to your preference for the old 80-80 analog delay.
Yep.
That was our starting point,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went from there.
Yep. Yeah. Well, there was some stuff that sounded good right away. I mean, we've worked on it for an hour or so, and hour and a half, and found some cool stuff.
What type of sound did you set out to achieve with your Thumbprint, and did you succeed?
I didn't really set out to achieve any kind of sound. I was more, the way my style is more to see what the thing can do and then work from there. What is it telling you it can do, If you come at it with too preconceived a notion, you're kind of almost bound to fail. For me, it's easier to just say, like, all right, so here's some chords. Let's see what we can get going between the chords and the effects pedal. And so basically the pedal kind of dictated, like, this is the kind of thing I want to do, So we kind of just pushed it around from there, Like, it's like a conversation in a way when you're developing something like this. It's a conversation with the piece of equipment. So there you go.
Very good. And thank you very much, Lee, for spending time.
Okay.
And
My
great to
pleasure.
see you.
Okay.